peer supporters, culturally competent clinicians all across the country, and really letting them know about the resources that we have here at the treatment center, as well as the training and education that we do proactively to prevent people from actually needing the treatment center.
I have the shooting that's kind of up there, and I step off to the side to let the crowd watch, and I hear these footsteps running up. It was Doug. He's like, "Hey man, you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. What the fuck is wrong with you?" He's like, "No, it's you stepped off," and he was more concerned about me than watching. And again, and he's like, "What do you do?" And I'm kind of explaining it, and he's like, "We should all get." And then we all got together very organically. It was very nice that we were struggling with resources for first responders and veterans.
Career with the Norfolk Police Department in Virginia. Obviously, I'm not from Virginia.
Yeah.
Alabama.
He asked me to come speak at a deal. He was there on my first speaking deal, and Doug wanted to have me be there. I met Doug, and the things have kind of gone off the rails ever since.
And then 2 days later, my phone rang, and it was Dr. Odom, who you guys met earlier. It was his executive director, and she called me and said, "Hey, I hear you're walking the streets. Come in and talk to us." And it wasn't that bad, right? But she had a way with words. And so the night before I go into this interview, I think to myself, how can I be honest about what my intentions are and still get a job? I can really use a job. And when I sat down, one of the first things she said to me was, "Hey, we can't pay you what you're worth, but we really use your help." And I was like, "Oh, this is great. I can't stay very long, but I'd love to help." And something very interesting happened to me in those first 90 days. I would come home and tell my wife something really weird is going on there, and I don't know what it is. And she would be like, "What is it?" "I don't know. It's just different." One day I came home and I said, "I figured it out." She says, "What is it?" I said, "Everybody's happy."
Yeah.
And she goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "I know, it's the most bizarre place to work. Everybody's happy."
Suspicious.
Yeah, totally suspicious. So back then we had two programs. We had a general population program that had been running since 2011 or 12 or so. And then the public safety program started in 2018, and I got there about 3 or 4 months later. So I was very drawn towards the public safety program. I didn't really know why. I just thought it was exciting. Often I would go out and meet with the agencies, with the associations, with peer support teams, and tell them what we do. And then when they had a member in crisis, I was usually the first call they made. So for me, I had this experience in those first 6 months where I felt like, working with you guys turned on something inside me I never knew existed. And what I mean by that is, I'll be 47 in February. I have a 4.5-year-old, right? And when that kid was born, man, I got feelings in areas I never used to have areas, And the same thing started happening when I was working with you guys. I would talk to you guys on the phone, and you'd tell me what's going on, and it would kind of ring bells for me. In 2019, when I started here, I went out and met with a bunch of different programs that all said they work with first responders, and I stopped doing it in 2019. And the main reason was I took planes to go there. I drove hours, whatever, and the only thing all these programs had in common is when I got there, they weren't the first responders.
Yeah.
And it was just a fancy page on the website. It was them saying, "Yeah, we work with public safety," and you get there and it's not that at all.
Yeah.
And what we know is that you do have one chance.
We're cops and firefighter, skeptic, right? So I'm like, there's no way that, this sounds really good, but there's no way you got a circle of cops sitting down there sharing their feelings. I'm like, firefighter, sure,
Well, you do it all the time.
Yeah, no doubt. So, sorry, by law, I'm required to say something about firefighters. So, I've already got 2 in, so we're doing good for a little bit. But just kidding. I mean, but firefighters have that natural thing of, where they sit around the dinner table, and, it's a different environment than we are. You get in your car, most places you're by yourself. That's how we were. And you figure out, and everybody else knew but me, but it's because it is only first responders. So we're not a place that says, "Oh yeah, and we do first responders." This is only first responders. So
I think that we've always, what's made us different, you'll hear a lot about this, but we've always put the responder first, and it's funny, we've been doing this for a long, long time, the treatment center. And I said, "Sure, I will, but I'm also going to tell people about treatment, not just us." And one of the slides is really, hey, we're not going to be everybody a cup of tea, right? Here's what you need to look for when you vet other programs. And just because they tell you that first responder program, you need to go there and ask to see the first responders. Where are they living? What's different, right? How are they getting here, right? What happens when they leave? All of those types of things, because in most places, they go with kind of whatever's popular. "Oh, we're going to have nighttime IOP, because they're doing nighttime IFP. Oh, they have a Christian track, we're doing a Christian track.
Yeah.
It's like, it's this weird thing, and that's why.
As far as trusting certain places, because there's, I like brochures, but I've seen brochures of a hotel room that you're like,
Yep.
wow, and you get
Yeah.
there and there's a dead hooker underneath the bed, right? So I'm suspect of stuff until I kind of see it.
And we don't care what the wellness is if it works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no doubt.
If it works,
Yep.
we want to know about it. We want to be able to say, because the good thing about us, and Chris always says, and I'm still at phone, we always get the phone calls at 3 o'clock in the morning. Never have
Yep.
people crisis at 3 in the
Oh, yeah.
afternoon, right? So
Yep.
Yep.
it's good when we get a phone call from Idaho. Dr. Odom was talking about something about Idaho. It's good when we get a phone call from Idaho. We can say, I know a guy
Yep.
in Idaho.
Yep.
And when they call from California, I know some people in California.
Yep.
And that's, I think, where our gift lies. And we all have, you know, these are.
There's a big thing in Oklahoma right now, going around because all the tornadoes are happening, that
Yeah.
says, they post these memes, tell the women, remember to put your teeth in and wear a bra.
Right before the,
And every person they interview in Oklahoma
Yes.
tornado, it's some toothless woman, with a white beater on and no bra.
That's awesome.
And she's
their-
talking about, we just sit there
I'm
watching
keeping
Family
this
Feud,
in,
and next thing you know, the sirens are going.
We're tripped off my house.
Yeah, we're going, put your teeth in and put a
And
bra
now you see
on.
what I call the shit
Yeah.
show.
Yeah.
It can go off.
This is
Yeah.
great though.
Yeah,
This is
yeah,
great.
yeah.
I mean, you're not gonna get much more authentic.
Yeah.
Well, and that's what authenticity is the thing,
Yeah.
right?
It is, and that's what
Can't
builds,
fake
Yeah.
that's what builds legitimacy in any program.
Yes,
Whether
absolutely.
it's your program, whether it's a organization's program,
Yep.
like, that's what builds it, is trust and legitimacy.
Yep.
And if you don't have-
He's not allowed to talk to anybody's wife.
Really quick, turn the floor
Yeah,
over
no
to you guys.
kidding.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
I do have a question for you guys, because we've seen this, I've seen this a lot. Normally when people get into treatment, it's on the heels of, I'm getting ready to, I've either gotten arrested, I put hands up on somebody, like a domestic
Yeah.
violence kind of situation. What do you guys have in place for somebody that's having some pending legal issues coming up, whether it be, you know, departmental issues or more importantly, like,
That's a great question. I'm sure Chris, when we go downstairs, can talk more about from the programming side. We saw a lot of this in 2020 during the riots. People were out in the riot line for
Yeah.
18 hours, came home, then they got domestic violence charged. Things went sideways, right? So back then we put together a lot of groups on process of what is an AI, because excuse me, an IA, right? Because people didn't even know. Like, no one's talking to me at the department. I've been sent home on admin leave, and I don't know what's going on. So we brought some people in, we put together almost like an hour's group on here's the process, this is why no one's talking to you. So, and just by doing that put so many people at ease. They're like, God, why couldn't they just tell me this? So I just feel so much better now.
It's
In the car, he was kind of telling about how he's, his great system, it works really great. When they get home, I send them for a friendly fitness for duty, and I'm thinking, well, friendly fitness for duty, how's that,
Yeah.
Okay, I made a finish.
Yeah, yeah.
That work.
Well,
There's nothing friendly about a fitness for duty.
yeah.
I wanted to.
Yeah, and he explained
Hey,
what
buddy, I
it
got
was,
something
right?
for
He
you.
explained,
Yeah.
he explained what
Go see the doc.
Exactly.
He explained what it was, but what I said is, hey, listen, you're a big department, and there's people that aren't going to know that it was a friendly fitness for duty. They're going to hear that he asked for help.
Yeah.
He wasn't in discipline. He got better, right? And now he came back to work, and there was a fitness for duty. I said, so, I mean, when people leave our program, we usually give a letter of completion, and a lot of agencies will take that in lieu of, like, matter of fact, we just worked with a local department here that set up 2 policies. A work comp policy where they can get into our program the very next day, and an admin leave policy. And we're seeing a lot of agencies use admin leave as a tool to support employee wellness. But when we were negotiating with the command staff, the union president, and the risk manager was like, okay, we need a fitness for duty. And the president of the union and the deputy chief asked me, well, hey, we know that's wrong, but what do we tell the risk manager? I said, here's the deal. If your employee is operating here, you don't have a problem with them, there's no questions about their ability or anything, and they go away for 60 to 90 days, and now we've improved their overall well-being, and now they're here, why on earth would you send them for a fitness for duty when you didn't have a problem with them?
Fitness for duty should.
I get to speak at,
Which breakout were you, or What was your
It was called a proactive approach to wellness, and it's kind of the idea that if you do it right, we can actually begin to make workers' comp work for us and not against us,
We started.
which is interesting.
Yes.
We started.
It happens here a lot.
Well, we started. The problem that we were having with workman's comp is that we were getting 100% of the claims initially denied,
Right.
declined, and then I took something out of what's that guy's name? Not Roslin or something. He was up Prince George area. Anyway, I took a play out of his playbook, and if an officer came in with an initial complaint, what we would do is we'd go to the CAD system, computer dispatch,
Yep.
and I pull that officer's calls for the last year, and only like the most significantly traumatic type calls, and then we put all that and put the latest complaint on top and submit that as a packet, because like I went to a house and I thought somebody was going to get me and whatever. No, like, that's not enough on its own. But when we showed the history of it, I think like 98% of the claims were accepted on their first thing. So it was kind of like working with.
Yeah, I don't know what the number is now. I think it's 8. It might be a little higher now. Presumptive claim states, where you only have to prove 1% is from the job, and the other 99 can be from your life. So it's a lot easier. California passed a law beginning of last year that also you have to accept it or reject it within 75 days, or you get a $50,000 fine. So that's really moved the needle up
That'll move
too.
the needle a little bit.
Yeah.
That's West Coast thinking though.
Yeah, and what we do here at the treatment center is people. Well, my biggest concern is that anyone who decides they might want to file a claim, first and foremost, are they really in the right headspace to make that decision?
Right.
Because they've got a PTS problem and they're not thinking clearly, and so they need to get the help before they really make that kind of potentially career-ending decision. And so we like for people to come in on their insurance. And if they decide to file the claim, we also have psychologists affiliated with us who can file the doctor's first report, the AOE, COE, all the paperwork. And then if and when the claim gets accepted, they've already had treatment. And then what happens on the back end is called subrogation, and that's where the insurance company pays us, and then workers' comp accepts it, and so then they pay us, and then we pay the insurance company back.
Gotcha.
The other thing that we do with a lot of departments is work out kind of an administrative leave policy that says we're going to pay for your time off while you're gone to treatment, because that's the biggest barrier in a lot of ways for people wanting to come into treatment. And then when that 4850 time gets accepted by comp, then that can be a deal between the organization and the employee to get the 4850 time paid back. And so my biggest concern is a guy or a girl sitting on the couch waiting for the claim to get accepted, because nothing gets better.
No.
It only gets worse and worse and worse. And so if someone knows they need help, let's get them help.
Right.
And like here at our place, about 90% go back to work. It's almost everyone going back to work because it's treated more like an injury or an illness. Let's go take care of it and get you back out there, because that's what most people want. They just get this feeling that if I file the comp claim, it's going to be a long, arduous process, and I'm probably not coming back.
Right.
And then the next thing you know, depending on how it works in the department and kind of what history is, a lot of times there might be an association or a union involved. And because of bad experiences, they typically say, go ahead and get yourself an attorney. And once you do that, everyone's in trouble.
Right.
Because then the department won't talk to the guy because they can't. And then the guy has this institutional betrayal because no one will help me and no one will talk to me. It's like, yeah, but somebody lawyered up here, and so everyone's trapped.
Right.
And so everything that we ever wanted to do to help people is kind of eliminated because of the process that we have in place today. It really needs to change. And essentially it's that idea that there's several pillars of what it takes to retire well. You know, the first pillar is you really have to understand what that identity is all about, how much you embraced about it, how much you might have rejected about it, but what it really means to you, because when you don't have it anymore is when you will miss it. And you know, there's so many stories about what happens to people when they cross that line and they were on the inside and now they're on the outside. And there's something about that that you like, and there's something about that you don't like. And there's something about that that you carry forward with you in a lot of ways, but in other ways, other people don't let you. It's like you're always going to be the cop in the neighborhood for anybody who knows in your family, or the fireman in the neighborhood, but you really don't have the same information that you used to have. And that's a real interesting transition. Some people really embrace it and they can't wait to move on, but typically those are the people who never completely identified themselves as all cop all the time. They saw themselves as another person too, a dad, a coach, whatever those things were, and so they are able to let go a little bit better. The second thing is what you just said, which is purpose. It's like, what we need to remember is everyone in public safety, almost everyone, has a very purpose-driven life. Like, you don't do this job just because you woke up one day, it seemed like a good idea. It's like, nope, something brought you here, and something about not having that purpose anymore is a real empty feeling for a lot of people. It's like, how do I continue my purpose, and what's that going to look like? In a lot of ways, the whole world of helping your own and peer support and all those kinds of things, we see that as something that a lot of people are kind of gravitating back into, which I think is great. But you also have to get to this idea of acceptance, and no one wants to think about it, but leaving this career involves grieving, and we like to think grieving is about dying, but it's not. It's about something that's irrevocably changed. You will never be that guy anymore. And guys who kind of relish the past and live in the past, and that's really what they talk about all the time. It's a lot of war stories and things like that. And you see other people who acknowledge that and remember it really well, but they also live in the present and the future.
Right.
And when you make that transition into the future, that I used to be that and now I'm this, that's healthy.